So يا شباب, this is a problem. So the problem says, so I have a piston cylinder device, as you can see here. Okay, the piston cylinder device contains the refrigerant 134A. So we call it refrigerant 134A or R134A. It has 0.05 kilograms of this refrigerant. Okay, so it is put on a heater like this, as you can see in the figure. All right, and then the initial state of this refrigerant, so it is at 200 kilopascal and at a saturated vapor state. Yes. أحد قال شيء؟ شباب معي؟
معك.
Someone said something. Anyway, so زي ما قلت لكم يا شباب, so initially the initial state of this refrigerant is 200 kilopascal and saturated vapor. Saturated vapor, that means it is the saturation state of the saturated vapor of the G state, يعني, and the TV diagram or the PV diagram. So we started heating this saturated vapor refrigerant until the temperature becomes 30 degrees Celsius. So we heated this at what? At constant pressure. So this heating يا شباب process is constant pressure process. يعني the pressure is not changing. معناته P2 equals to P1. Okay, and T2 here is 30 degrees Celsius. So the question, في two parts of the question. Question الأول, I want you to find the temperature T1 at the first state, okay, and plot the TV and PV diagram showing the state and the process direction. Okay, so this is the first problem. The second question is to find the volume in meter cubed occupied by the refrigerant at each state. At each state. في شيء مو واضح في السؤال؟ هل السؤال واضح؟
واضح دكتور.
الباقيين يا شباب الكل واضح؟
واضح.
طيب خلاص ممتاز. Please take your time, yes, take يعني 5-10 minutes or maybe 10 minutes or more a little bit, and then we'll come back to it يا شباب and try to solve the problem together. Okay, but please at first you have to try to solve the problem. And يا شباب I will start calling by يعني by names. يعني I will ask randomly what did you do, what's the procedure you did. لأنه it's important to try practice yourself. Okay, so these are the type of problems you might see in the exam. So please take your time and please start solving this problem. ولو عندكم أي سؤال ولا شيء you can go ahead يعني ask me يعني. And at any point يا شباب, if you find the answer, any of the answers, for example, you can write it in the chat or send speak up يعني. It's okay. Okay يا شباب, يلا good luck, go ahead with the problem. How's the progress? All good? شباب كيف الأخبار؟ في أحد found T1? What is T1?
I found it that is 16.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I
كيف
just
تطلع minus 10
minus 10.59 Celsius.
yes
minus 10 points كم؟
minus 10.09
09 هو هذا صح minus 10.09 Ali, how did you find 16?
I convert the pressure to bar and then I found it 5, so 16 for the 5.
ليش 5 بار؟ مين قال 5؟
ما أدري لما حاولت يمكن تحويل غلط بس ما أدري هذا اللي طلع وياي.
تحويل it seems like you made a mistake in the conversion. ال 1 bar is 0.1 megapascal أو 100 كيلو باسكال. ال1 بار is 100 كيلو باسكال، فاحنا قلنا 2 كيلو باسكال، فمعناته كم بار؟
2.
supposed to be 2 bar. Okay.
اوكي.
Let's go to the 2 bar, the pressure table for the refrigerant 134A. Okay. This is not water, it's the refrigerant. So if you go to 2 bar, التيبل اللي عندكم كم يا شباب؟ اللي هو A11 صح؟ Is it A11 or?
Yes, it's 11.
دكتور تقدر تستعرض تيبل ولا على كامر؟
Sure. Just give me a second. I have a table. Okay. So at 2 bar here, you see, I told you already it's saturated vapor. وش معناته؟ معناته it is at this state, sat vapor. Saturated vapor معناته it's the saturation state. Okay. It's 100% vapor, لكن still it's in the saturated mixture and pressure. So at 2 bar you find the corresponding temperature, which is minus 10.0. Okay. So this is the right table for state 1. Okay, then what about state 2? What is the state at 2?
Doctor,
Yes.
is it in both states saturated vapor?
Of course not. What was the question? We said initial state is saturated vapor, and we heated this at constant pressure until the second temperature is 30 degrees. طيب, how do you define the second state? هنا السؤال. So this is why you need to practice. الحين أنت عندك new state. طيب, how do you find the new state or the phase for the new state? You have two independent properties. Based on it, you can try to find what is the new state. Okay? So the initial state I already told you saturated vapor. Okay, so you need خلاص واضح ال state 1. State 2, we said heating, we started heating the refrigerant at constant pressure until the final temperature is what? Is 30 degrees Celsius. يعني if we summarize the states, طبعا this is يا شباب very important إنه when you try to solve problems you need to be organized and clear. So state 1, as I said, so state 1, we said it is saturated like this, so saturated vapor. We have P1 equals to 2 bar, and T1 we found it as كم قلنا? minus 10.09 degrees Celsius from table A11. Okay? طيب, what about state 2? State 2, what is the state? الحين احنا نعرف انه P2 equals to what? This is, we said this heating is at constant pressure. معناته the final state is what?
At 2 bar.
Is 2 bar also, so it's equal to P1 equals to 2 bar. But what about the temperature at the final state? The temperature at the final state, I gave it to you. T2 equals 30 degrees Celsius. طيب, تتذكرون يوم الكلاس الماضي أو اللي قبله قلنا, I think it's the one before, قلنا if you have temperature and pressure, if you are given temperature and pressure, how do you define your state? You just need to follow this procedure. Okay? You just need to follow this procedure. So how do you find the state? What do you think? What is the state?
It is vapor.
It is superheated vapor.
Superheated vapor.
ليش؟
Superheated.
The temperature is increasing.
Exactly. So at this pressure, خلينا نرجع هنا. احنا هنا, okay? So we are going, if you go to the pressure table at 2 bar هنا, this is actually similar. So this is at 2 bar, for example. My saturation pressure is this line here. This is my saturation pressure. My given, for at 2 bar, the saturation temperature is minus 10.09. أنا ليش خلني أسويها هناك. Let me do it here. So this is like this, and this is the temperature VTV. We will draw it actually. So this is my constant pressure line. At this is my saturation temperature, which is minus 10.09. Okay, my given temperature is higher. Okay, so my given temperature is higher. That means it must be what? It must be superheated. The other way you can think about it here, أنا وش قلت لك؟ الانيشال state is saturated vapor. البروسيس اللي بعد saturated vapor we started heating. يعني reasonably we will not cool down. يعني we will not go below the saturated vapor. So we must go above the saturated vapor. So since the temperature is higher, يعني خلينا نقول since T is higher than T saturation at 2 bar, this is what? This is super heated vapor. اوكي، وضحت يا شباب؟ وضحت ولا لسه في شيء مو واضح؟ يعني here I said it is saturated vapor initially, then we heated until this temperature. So since we heated more than saturated vapor, so more than now the temperature is higher than the saturation temperature, which is minus 10. So it must be superheated vapor. Any question هنا؟ وضحت ولا في مشكلة؟ في أحد عنده مشكلة أو شيء؟ ها شباب.
لا لا والله دكتور.
If you have any question or something not clear, please you can ask. طيب الحين ال TV وال PV diagram, how do we draw it? ها شباب. في أحد منكم حاول فيها دي؟ So how did you draw? ها شباب. عرفتم ولا ما عرفتم؟
نعم دكتور، نرسم الدوم أولا.
ممتاز. Okay, so the first step always to plot this dome. Okay. طيب. What else?
Then the temperature saturated.
طيب. The second, after we plot the dome, the second step to see the constant lines. For the TV diagram, how many pressure lines should I plot?
First we plot the 2 bar.
So we will plot the 2 bar pressure line, and it should be increasing with temperature as the single phase like this. So this is 2 bar. So for the PV diagram, how many lines I will plot? So for the PV diagram, I have what? I have constant temperature lines. How many lines I will plot?
We have 2 lines.
I have 2 temperatures, so I need to plot 2 lines. And is it decreasing or increasing at single phase?
Decreasing.
Decreasing.
Exactly. So it will be. So this is first line, and this is second line. So this is the 30 degrees Celsius, and this is the minus 10.09 degrees Celsius. Okay, so these are 2 lines. Now how can we define the state? So what is the state 1? It is saturated vapor, which is which point? this point. Okay? The same thing here. We start with minus 10.09, which is this one here. طيب يا شباب, who can tell me for the TV diagram, where should I go?
Towards the right,
You
upward,
go right
because
along
we are
the-
increasing the temperature.
Okay, so the temperature will be increasing and across, along what? Along?
The constant pressure.
Exactly, it's going to be along the 2-bar line or along the constant pressure line, since this is a constant pressure process. So this will be like this. I'm working on this one here until state 2. Okay, this is for the TV diagram. طيب ايش تتوقعون for the PV diagram? How it's going to be look like?
draw straight line.
قصدك ايش؟ horizontal line.
horizontal line من التو بار.
ممتاز. horizontal line ليش؟ لأنه this pressure is constant. So this is the 2-bar here. It's constant, so that means I will go the horizontal line until the second state line. شفتم كيف رحت من 1 to 2 at a different temperature but at constant pressure for the PV diagram? This is how you can do. في سؤال على هذا يا شباب. This is يا شباب very important, and this sort of questions that you might see in the exam. يعني. Is it clear يا شباب?
واضح دكتور.
Yes.
And it's very important that you practice ليش؟ لأنه you might make a mistake, but once you try, then you find the right answer, you know how to do the right answer, or you know how to do it, you see it like this, then you understand, oh, I understand how to do it now. So you emphasize your understanding. So it's very important. So this is part A. What about part B? How do we find the volume occupied in meter cubed? ايش رايكم يا شباب؟
They multiply the mass by the specific volume.
مظبوط. So عندي specific volume عبارة عن volume divided by the mass. So the volume equals mass times specific volume. So what do I need to find? I need to find at each state, I need to find the specific volume. Okay? If I find the specific volume at each state and I know the mass of the refrigerant which is given here, I told you, then you can just simply multiply the mass times the specific volume at each state and then you find finally the volume. طيب يا شباب, do it at state 1. What is the specific volume?
.0993.
Which is the VG at 2 bar. Okay, VG at 2 bar, which equals to 0.0993. Remember, always write units, meter cube per kilograms. So the volume equals V1 equals 0.05 kilograms times 0.0993, and then you find your answer here. طب what about state 2? قبل لا اروح state 2 عارفين ليش 0.0993 واضح هذه؟
Yes, from the table.
From, you go the same table, the saturated mixture table, you go at 2 bar, from the same table you get minus 10.09. You go to A11, at 2 bar you find the VG from the table. Okay? You find VG from the same saturated mixture table. So this is, let's write it here, this is table A11. Okay. طيب what about state 2? State 2 احنا ايش قلنا؟ What is the state?
Superheat.
Superheat.
Superheat. So which table I go to?
A11 A12
So we go to table A12 at P equals to 2 bar and T2 equals to 30 degrees Celsius. What is the specific volume?
0.119.
0.119.
119.
856.
لا مو 9.
11856.
Yes. So it's gonna be
11856.
0.856. This is correct. Meter cube per kilogram. Okay. So خلاص ال V2 or volume occupied at state 2 is simply 0.05 times 0.11856. You can multiply and find the volume in meter cube. Remember, this is in meter. Okay. لأنه meter cube over kilograms times kilograms تعطيك المتر. أي سؤال؟ أي سؤال على هذا البروبلم يا شباب؟ Is it clear؟
كثير.
في أحد عنده سؤال أو شيء؟ صعبة هذه ولا سهلة؟ إيش رأيكم؟
سهلة.
هذا يا شباب قلت لكم الكورس هذا من السهل الممتنع. تفهم it becomes really easy. ما تفهم ولا you don't practice it becomes really difficult. So please يعني it's important that you practice. حتى في الهومورك يا شباب I already uploaded the homework. Please start as soon as possible. Don't delay. And يعني how can I say it's important to try it yourself. If you don't try it yourself you will have trouble later in the exam. So it's very important and it's very essential that you do it. طيب, let's give you another problem. You can also give you 10 minutes to try it or 5 minutes. لأنه المفروض should be easier problem. Okay. So let's see here. This is another example here. So the question says determine the pressure, okay, and I'm going to go the pressure of water and the phase description, okay, at 100 degrees Celsius. At 100 degrees Celsius, I already give you the temperature. And the second property, I have 3 different choices for the specific volume. So I'll give you a specific volume. The first one at 100 degrees Celsius and 0.0010337 meter cube per kilogram. Second part is V equals 3.4187 meter cube per kilogram. And the last one is at V equals, let's see here, this is water, let's see, give me a second. Yeah, that's fine. 1.235. 1.235 meter cube per kilogram. فهمتم الفكرة يا شباب؟ For each part, I want you to find what is the pressure and the phase description. Okay? What is the pressure and the phase description? يلا شباب go ahead. شباب بغير واحدة من الفاليوز يعني to make it easier for you. For the second part I will make it 2.434. Okay. شباب بشروا كيف الوضع؟
دكتور معلش بس لو ترجع بي كيف.
So remember, we need two independent properties to define the phase and to find all other properties. فأنا أعطيتك هنا for each case you have two independent properties, but you will have different phases. So it's important to know how you can define the phase based on these values. ها شباب، ترى المسألة هذه المفروض سريعة يعني ما تطولون فيها.
أنا حليت أول اثنين، الثالث ما حصلته.
ليش ما حصلته؟
ما أدري، بعدني أدور.
طيب عطني الفيرست one. What was it?
The pressure 75 bar and it's compressed liquid.
75 bar compressed liquid. طيب let's see. It is correct, it is compressed liquid, but are you sure it's 75 bar?
200 بار.
It is 20 megapascal, which is 200 bar. Yes, that is correct. How did you find it is compressed liquid? Here's one.
From table A5.
In table A5. طيب ليش رحت table A5 على طول؟ يمكن يطلع والله table A6 ولا قصدي A4 ولا A3. How do you know exactly it is there؟ يعني الموضوع مو راندوم، يعني مو عشوائي اروح ادور اي تيبل واكتشف. في خطوات وشرحتها لكم. اول خطوة اول تيبل تروح عشان تتأكد وش هو؟
A2.
Saturated.
تروح للساتوريتد ميكتشر تيبل. اوكي، في البداية اول خطوة تسويها انك تروح at 100 degrees Celsius تروح تشوف وش ال VF وش ال VG. Then you compare at each part you compare your V to these two values. If your V is less than VF, this is compressed liquid. If V in between, this is saturated mixture. If V is greater than VG, this is superheated. Then you go to the right table to find the pressure. Okay, so this is the first step. But we need to go to the saturated mixture table at first. So at 100 degrees يا شباب, what is VF? So this is, let's go to table, right table A2 at 100 degrees Celsius. I have my VF equals what? شباب, what's VF? 0.001.
آثار.
وش ال VF يا شباب؟
زيرو فوق باقي يعني.
أنا أبغى أشوف هل أنتم وصلتوا الفاليو ولا لا. 104
10435.
10435 متر كيوب per كيلوغرام. وصلتوا لها يا شباب؟ هذه عرفتم وينها؟
Yes.
Yes.
طيب my VG is
1.673.
1.73 متر كيوب per كيلوغرام. Okay. طيب ممتاز. Now I got the VF and VG at 100 degrees Celsius. The question is, let's go now to part A. What is your V? Your V is 0.00103, which is your V is
Less
what?
than VF.
Smaller.
Less than VF. That means this is what?
Compressed liquid.
This is must be a compressed liquid. So we go to table come A.
A5.
We go to table A5. Then at 100 degrees Celsius and 0.0010337, meter cube per kilogram. I found my pressure as, so
200 bar.
yes. So now, how do you try to find the pressure? So now you have the V and you have the temperature. So basically, you try to, at each table, in each part of the table, for each pressure, you try to look at the 100 and look at the specific volume and then move to the next pressure until you find the right value. Okay. So if we browse through the different pressure tables, then if you go to the 200 bar, right? If you go to the 200 bar or 20 megapascal at 100 degrees Celsius, you see that let's go here. So if we go to this is here. Oh, solid ammonia. Let's go before. Okay. Alright, compressed. Yes, this is the compressed liquid water. Okay. So at 100 degrees, we try to find the right specific volume until we reach 20 megapascal at 100 degrees. You see the value here is here 1.0337 times 10 to minus 3. Remember, this is multiplied. You need to divide by 1000. So this is 0.010337. So the pressure, that means the pressure is 200 bar or 20 megapascal. Okay, this is the first one. But what about the second one? What is the volume? I told you it is 2.434. Compare 2.434 compared to the VF and VG. What do you see?
It's higher than VG.
So it's higher. So my V here for part B is higher than the VG. So this must be what? This must be a superheated vapor. Okay. So we go to table A4, صح? So we go to table A4 to try to find the right specific volume at the right temperature. So we also browse at 100 degrees. Okay, we try to browse at 100 degrees and we find the right specific volume at which pressure يا شباب ها?
0.7 bar.
0.7 bar or 0.07 megapascal. So we can look at, let's see it here. So this is superheated. Okay, we go here. Yes, this one here. So if you go to this table, you see at this pressure 0.07 megapascal or 0.7 bar. At 100 degrees, you find 2.434. Okay, so this is pressure 0.7 bar or 0.07 megapascal. Okay, the last part, C, what do we notice? My V is 1.235, which is
In between.
ما ادري هو علي ولا من اللي قال اللي ما عرفته؟ اللي يقول دورت ما حصلت. ما راح تحصل لانه this is saturation state. Okay, so you will not see this specific volume. Why? Because it's in between VF and VG. But the pressure here is what? V is in between VF and VG. That means this is what? This is in the saturated mixture state in the region. Yeah. So this is saturated mixture. Okay. So the pressure is from the same table, اللي هو table A2. the pressure is what? What's the pressure?
1.4289.
كم؟
1.4289.
ليش 1.4؟ متأكد 1.4؟
1.014.
1.04 يعني تقريبا 1 بار. 1.014 bar. Okay, so I'll go it's 1.1014 megapascal. Okay, so this pressure is basically what is the saturation pressure. That means this is saturated mixture. It's in the saturation state. So this is the saturated or saturation pressure. Okay, وضحت يا شباب؟ وضح البروبلم هذه؟ How we solve this? Is it clear?
Yes.
Clear.
Yes.
Okay. خلاص. These examples I gave you today يا شباب, it should يعني make you خلاص يعني if you understand it very well, this is all what you need in order to evaluate probability from the tables. يعني إن شاء الله hopefully this is clear. As I said, I will upload more practice problem for you. Please go ahead يعني try to solve it yourself and let me know if you have any questions. Okay. I don't want to spend a lot of time on similar problems. خلاص, you get the idea. We will move on. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, that's it. يعني free to go. Feel free to go. يعني.
الله يعطيك العافية دكتور.
الله
دكتور.
Thank you دكتور.
حياك الله.
شكرا الله دكتور، شكرا لك.
حياك الله.
دكتور